Hello, everybody. We are live. Welcome to Juju Show number 28. We're bringing in 2018. A little bit late this month getting them in, but it is time. It is time to talk some Juju, to show some stuff, and to have some fun. And we've got a crew here with us today. So let's go around. I'm going to go from the beginning here. Adrian, I have not seen you before. Who are you and why are you here?
Hi, I'm Adrian. I'm a new acquisition for the Juju core development team under Ian's how do you say it? Under Ian's supervision, and I'm gonna take care of making Juju even more awesome.
Woohoo! Welcome to the team, sir. We appreciate your work and effort, and we look forward to giving you lots of things to do. Beatty, recognize you. You're looking as shady as ever. What are you up to? All right, and Kevin's in the shadows here. He didn't pay his electric bill. He's only got natural light behind him or something in a window.
Yeah, it's the sun. I hate this thing.
Hate the sun, man. I'm dying for some sun. This whole January, this winter business is going on. I'm getting tired of it. I want to get out of here. But it's been a while. We haven't talked Juju, so let's talk about what's new. And the newest thing, of course, is a new version of Juju. 3.2.2 is out, and it fixes a couple of issues with 3.2. And I can say that these are starting to roll out to Jazz controllers, so you'll see them in Jazz as well, although I don't think all of them are quite updated yet. So that's good. But if you don't have your latest Juju, go get your latest Juju. Hopefully you guys are using the snaps and you just tracking the stable channel and it's auto updating for you. And that's awesome. But if not, you can go and grab your updates. I know you got them all released on Mac and everything. So I've got my alpha snap, I think, on this machine, and my Mac has the stable brew update or whatever, and playing around. It's always fun. You guys all up to date on your Juju? What are you running, BD? You're always trying to race ahead of things.
Got a few different things going in a few different dark corners of the world.
Dark corners of the world.
I've got a 2.3.2 controller running, and it is just purring along beautifully.
Nice.
Yeah, but everything looks great to me. I noticed some cloud-init or user data config in my models. Do you know anything about that?
So, I got to get what the official thing is. I know at some point the
cloud-init or user data.
Who's dragging me behind? And okay. Oh, Beatty's gone. Haha, now tell it while he's all away. It's a cool secret thing. No. I know that you're back. Can you hear us?
Yep, my bad. Sorry.
Wrong button.
Yep.
Anyway, so the cloud-init user data stuff. So this was, I think that there was some need to try to be able to pre-configure things before charms can kick in, and it needed to happen in cloud-init. I don't remember if it was proxy related or what. I'd have to go back and look it up for you, to be honest, what the bug was around. But I think that this was added to the model config such that any of the machines that come up will execute that during the cloud-init phase, and it allows you to kind of inject stuff like proxy info or whatnot that you might need before everything will work properly. So I'll be honest, it's one of those things that went by to fix some issue, and I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it. But now that you say it out loud, like that does seem like an interesting injecting thing. Oh, Kevin has the bug. He has linked it. I will put it in the show notes that I'll post at the end here. So you can track the conversation that happened there and notice that BD's more beady-eyed than I am. Cool. So yeah, 3.2.2. Go get your stuff updated, folks. Next up, for you charmers out there, the charms.reactive 0.6.0 was released, and it's got a bunch of good stuff in it. I believe this fixes some of the API bits, make the public API more clear. It fixes some issues. It adds... what's it adding here? The FAQ section of docs, and it deprecates some stuff, relation from name, relation from flag, some of the stuff that needs to be deprecated with the new relation interface stuff added. So yeah, so go check out if you're a charmer. Make sure you grab that, and if something breaks, that's probably why. And Heather's joined us. Man, I look away for a minute and people popping in the call. Hi, Heather. You can hear me? Okay. All right. Heather works on Juju Core as well, and has been around a little bit. I think she's been on a couple of shows before. So anyway, so yeah, charms.reactive, again, update that. I must have already been released. One thing to be aware of on the charm stuff was that the state things was all moved to flags. So if you ever did like, set state or remove state or whatnot, that all turned into set flags, remove flags, and such. I know I just updated some charms to do that recently. Next up, there was an email to the list around someone has a product, a charm called SME, and it's short for Storage Made Easy. And they, for good reasons, really were like, hey, I'd like my charm to show up capital S, capital M, capital E, and we don't do that. We auto title case stuff in the juju-gui and all that. And the reason for that's mainly been, we don't want people to have to know how to type the name in order to use it, right? Like to go, oh, I need to capitalize this or that when I run juju deploy from the command line. But as we decided, you know what, as long as we limit it to web UIs and like display UIs, we'll totally go. And we're going to add a display-name attribute to charm metadata. I know that the team is actively working on that today. The changes are made to charm proof and such to allow it and check it. And then we're updating the charm store to accept it and to feed it over the charm store API. So that basically then you could brand your things correctly cased. MySQL can be capital M, lowercase y. SME can be all capital S, M, and E. So as that rolls out, I'll put a bigger word out as we get that closer to being, functional for everyone across the board. But just a heads up, that's coming. And if that's a pain point of yours, we hear you. We're working on it. We'll get it fixed shortly. So, woohoo. All right. Kevin,
Hey,
what are you up to?
before we get into my hotness, Heather just mentioned that she had perhaps some info on the cloud-init user data model config.
Yes,
Could you fill us in?
sure. I was lurking and I heard you talking about this. I went, hey, wait a minute, something I know. So I did the work for the cloud-init changes. So I can tell you. So once in a while, there's things it's hard for Juju to model. And so there's been this request out there to make changes to your cloud-init. And so this is a mechanism to allow you to do that. It is a sharp knife tool. For the most part, if you put it in there, we're sticking it in your cloud-init user data, and you get what you get.
Thank you.
Only if there's actually a bug on it, and so I have a blurb about the details in the bug. It's from, I think, actually a couple of years ago, before I started, so not my fault.
It was my bad.
Okay, so yeah, packages will be merged. The one caveat is packages will be merged. Juju does install some packages, and if you want to install more, cool, we'll do them all. Run command as well, you need to specify pre and post, and we'll merge it in with what Juju does. You can't change boot command or users. But other than that, have fun. Be careful.
So Heather, do you know, did we look at all about whether or not, one of the things I know that we've circled around but haven't moved forward, I believe, is being able to set things like model config into bundle definitions so that when we actually make things as reusable and redeployable as possible, if it needs tweaks, that we can actually define it in our bundle config and really get that model, as you say, to model it better, part of the model definition. Do you know if that's anywhere on your guys' hit list? And if not, can I poke that bear?
I don't know if it's on our list, and you can poke it.
All right, I'll poke away. Well, thank you, Heather. That's awesome.
You're
See, ask and ye shall receive.
There's another change that's coming related. Sometimes, especially if you're using MAS, you might set up some stuff, and it doesn't get transferred from the MAS machine to any containers that Juju also provisions. So we're having another change to model config so that you can specify user init tags, keys to be transferred from or copied from the machine to the container.
This is like the deb proxy and stuff like that, right? Like
yeah,
I want a local offsite for my Debian packages to come through, not reach out to the internet and all that.
Right. And sometimes you've already set it up, so this way you don't have to do it 5 times and what have you. So
you look confused, James.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. How does that what's the difference between setting a proxy config in the model config or using user data to do it? Does one override the other, or is there a difference between the two for either any of the proxy configs, I guess?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just so that you don't have to specify it more than once if you don't want to, right? That was kind of the thing with Maz is, hey, you did all this setup in Maz. Can we get Juju to take advantage of it, of the stuff you already did?
Right. So to put the scenario together, right? Like in Maz, you say on these machines, set up these deb proxies or local caches or whatever. Then when you deploy with Juju, you get that machine, but then you may be deploying into a container on that machine. And Juju doesn't know that when it creates the container, hey, there's stuff Maz knows on the machine that should be replicated to the container. Because obviously, if you set up a machine in Maz, you don't want to copy all the things in Maz. I mean, the container is not the machine. They're distinct, right? So some things you want to pass through. And so obviously most things you kind of don't. You want the container to act independent of what machine it's on or whatever. So this is setting up this, hey, Juju, by the way, you should listen to the root machine for a few major properties. I mean, if the machine needs to get packages from a deb repository and you told Maz about that, Juju, you should respect that for any containers that are on that machine. It probably has this, within my network, I have the same restrictions on anyone who wants to go get the latest, MySQL deb package.
Yep. Yes, Rick did a much better description. Thank you.
Well, I've gotten the bugs. I've listened to people who have wanted this stuff for a while. They told me that I could say it back to them. Cool. That's good to hear, Heather. I look forward to is that going to be in a 2.3.3 situation, or is that a 3.0 or what?
It should be in the 2.3. Probably 2.3.3.
Okay.
I need to work on a little piece because cloud-init is not the same in like Trusty and Xenio. Cloud-init kind of changed, especially around apt and how it specifies everything. So there's a little bit of
Trusty, I guess.
It's been mentioned.
Has it? Okay.
It's not my first priority, but it's definitely kind of we don't want to leave anybody behind who's still using this.
Cool.
So.
Alrighty. So Kevin, did you want to wow and amaze us all? Do you have new features that we don't know about that we should all get excited about?
I do. First of all, if you're not following me on Medium, you should be, because last week I put out a blog post about monitoring a Kubernetes cluster. And this all started with the idea that, lots of our big software has this need to be monitored, right? What does that mean? It means metrics, it means logs, and there are dozens of ways to do metrics and logs for big software, big data, OpenStack, Kubernetes, things like that. So what we've tried to do is provide sort of a standard way that you might monitor many types of clusters, be they OpenStack, big data, or Kubernetes. And so I put up a blog post last week about monitoring a Kubernetes cluster. I will share my screen and link this thing in #Juju, monitoring a K8s cluster. All right, so that's in the Juju channel. What it means is my hope was to shock and awe people with this mess of applications in a Juju canvas, right? Because it really is. It's not just, I'm going to add logging, right? When you're talking about adding something like Graylog, you need a Mongo database for Graylog's metadata. You need an Elasticsearch document database for Graylog to source. You need FileBeat or syslog or something to actually push the logs over there. And then, of course, you need like a reverse proxy, be it Apache or Nginx, to show off that web UI. So it's a lot of crap, and that's just for logging, right? The same can be said for metrics. when you're talking about something as complicated as Prometheus, right? You've got metric collectors, you've got scrapers where the Prometheus brain will go out and suck metrics off of certain applications. You also might have things like Telegraph that are pushing metrics to Prometheus. And then again, you've got to expose those and provide the UI there. And the most common UI that we are using is Grafana with a nice set of dashboards. So again, you've got probably 10 applications to get something like a robust monitoring solution deployed. And it ain't easy. At least it didn't used to be. But what I want to talk about today is a change to the conjure-up spell for the canonical distribution of Kubernetes. So if I look, I think I've got the latest snap here, 2.5 something. Maybe. Watch conjure-up version fails and I'm stuck. There it is, 2.5.2. All right, so if we conjure up Kubernetes, you'll get the choice to deploy CDK. And what we've done is included a couple of add-ons in the CDK bundle. And these add-ons can be moved to big data spells or any conjure-up spell, really. And the add-on is the embodiment of that complicated stack, right? So when we, I'll just run through this conjure-up CDK real fast. It shouldn't take but a second. But these add-ons allow us to, with one click, say, I want Graylog, right? And so there's a little description there that says, all right, you're going to get Apache, Elasticsearch, FileBeat, Graylog. And this add-on is simply a bundle, a snippet of YAML that gets included in the CDK bundle. And it provides these applications. It wires them all together and does the right configuration so that Kubernetes logs flow into Graylog into an interface that you can then use, right? So simple one click, bing, bang. Prometheus is the same. I will note that there is a feature request for conjure-up to put scroll bars in case you have to scroll down too far. As you can see here, you won't actually get the full description of Prometheus because we've scrolled off the screen, but a release real soon now will include scroll bars in conjure-up so we can see that. And if I make the screen small enough, you'll be able to see. Again, with the one click on Prometheus, you're going to get Grafana, Prometheus, and Telegraph, right? So you could page through and see what this thing is going to deploy. It turns out to be, I think, about 8 applications that it adds to the default CDK bundle. The nice thing just with those 2 button presses is that you get all of these applications deployed, related, configured, and set up to go. So that's really it. That's all I really wanted to show was just the ability to quickly deploy a monitoring stack around CDK. We can click this off. I've already deployed one of these models earlier, so I can sort of show you what that looks like. From a Grafana perspective, we have 2 sets of metrics, 2 dashboards that get included in this stack by default. One is going to be host level metrics. These are straight up CPU, memory, disk, IO, things like that on the hosts themselves. So you'll see a nice graph there. And then we can drill into the Prometheus metrics. These are things that are scraped from Kubernetes, from a Kubernetes cluster. They provide lots of metrics that people can slurp off of. And those will just take a few minutes to refresh.
Cool.
Yeah. So we've got 2 dashboards there. Come back when I promise there's data there. It'll just take a second to load. So that's the monitoring section with 2 dashboards. And then we can take a look at Graylog. These are the logs that are being injected into our Graylog stack, again, from a previous deployment. This is happening via FileBeat, which is an elastic, what's it called? Elastico, the beats stack. If you've heard of Elasticsearch, you're probably familiar with things like FileBeat and TopBeat and PacketBeat. These are all small agents, if you will, that can report certain things to a centralized location. In this case, we're using FileBeat to send very specific logs over to Graylog. And you can drill into them and make dashboards again, just like with Grafana. Graylog has an extensive dashboard capabilities, so you can drill into, what's this log? It came from FileBeat, from one of my containers, something about the heapster pod, right? So you can really drill into exactly what logs are important to you from your Kubernetes cluster with FileBeat and Graylog doing the heavy lifting in the back there.
Is that just the cluster itself, or could that be things I'm running in the cluster? Is there a nice way for me to have my workloads running, send logs aggregated to this Graylog instance?
Yeah, buddy. So one of the things we did behind the scenes when we wired up FileBeat was to include not only system logs, but also container logs. So any process that's running, you'll see, in fact, that this, I just got lucky, but this one happens to come from a container log. This is the heapster pod in Kubernetes that is made some log event that happened. I don't know what that message means, but whatever it is, it came from the heapster container running in the cluster, right? So you do get system logs, and you could have a dashboard that only displays, let's say, auth errors or whatever. And then you could have another dashboard that only displays container logs, and both of those are forwarded into your Graylog database for your perusal, and of course you can set up alerts and different dashboards for different groups of people that may be interested in a very specific set of logs in your cluster.
Oh, so that's really cool. So if I deployed Django into my Kubernetes cluster and I had it writing out logs to the system logs, they'd be auto pulled in through this Graylog setup. And then I'd be able to build dashboards for different users who are, in charge of that deployment or whatnot.
Yeah, that's right.
Sweet. Gotta love that. Out of the box log aggregation and all that. That's cool.
I thought so. That's why I wanted to talk about it.
Well, awesome. Thanks, Kevin. So if people want to do other types of those add-ons for things, like could someone do their own add-on to the spell so that you can, when you deploy Kubernetes, you could pick some other add-on or whatnot?
Yeah, for sure. Let me, I'll also link to the Kubernetes Spells just so you can see the add-ons that are supported. We have a Deis and a Helm add-on as well. So we'll say conjure-up spell add-on. So posted in #Juju there, you'll see the add-ons directory, and these are pretty easy snippets to sort of follow along with. You'll get the hang of it just by looking at some of the YAML, and they're literally just bash scripts that call Juju commands to do setup and things.
Cool.
So for sure, yeah, easy to expand and extend.
So there you go. If you've got your own, things that you typically run on top of a base CDK, you could actually spell that up and get it all out to be a nice, single, easy deployment there.
That's right.
Very nice. All right. Well, I also have show and tell today. Dun, 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 dun. So I'm just going to share my entire screen and go over here. All right. So I've got a Juju Show controller, and there's not much to it, but what I wanted to show is this. So here is my juju-gui, and it was kind of fun. I was looking at stats recently, and there's still some people that deploy the juju-gui charm even on Juju 2. And so everyone should know that there's a juju-gui command that will just give you the information on how to open the GUI. It's all baked into your controllers as of Juju 2 and later. So, and you can upgrade the GUI when new releases are done. There's a juju upgrade -GUI command, and it'll go out and grab the latest release and upgrade it on the controller and tell you what version it's at and such. So make sure to check that out. But so here I've got my controller. I'm logged in as admin on the default, and I'm going to look for special charm. And this special charm is the Juju Shell. This Juju Shell will give you an embedded command line tool in the GUI so that you can perform CLI operations from the GUI itself. Now, it's doing a bunch of, as you type out the command in the web UI, in the browser, it's proxying those commands through this Juju Shell application to the controller. So this has to have a valid SSL cert due to the joy of WebSockets and the way the internet works. Okay, so I can go through and add this and deploy it, and commit it. And I wanted to highlight something. So just because you deploy this doesn't mean it's ready yet. You have to do some setup. Again, you have to have a valid SSL cert. And the charm supports Let's Encrypt. So if you give it a DNS name, it'll auto grab a certificate so that it can be valid. You need to set up the DNS name. So I have here in this charm a getstarted.md file. And we had talked about this before, but I wanted to highlight how this is useful and try to encourage more people to add these to their charms. You include a getstarted.md file and put markdown in it. And as you see, as soon as I deploy the charm, it's loaded for me. And I can close it and go back and, where is it? Why don't I have it? And in a GUI that is soon to be released, I should have a link here for the get started and the README file, and I don't. So anyways, that provides you the step-by-step walkthrough, but basically I have to go to my DNS provider. In this case, I created a already baked, wrong one, been baked. Here's a deployment that's already been baked, and I have to go into the configuration and tell it what the URL for the Juju Shell is. I created a show.jujugui.org DNS name. I pointed it at the IP address, the public address of my unit here. So configure DNS, step 1. Change the configuration to be the new URL, step 2. And step 3 is go in here and hit Shift 1, basically exclamation point, and there's this new config item in the GUI settings, and I can say, hey, GUI, at show.jujugui.org, I have a Juju Shell. And it tries to auto-detect it in the latest GUI, but as you'll see, sometimes you have to enter that manually. And then, there we go, it picked it up. Now I have a new button up here, and I hit the button, and I am connected to a terminal. And I can do things like Juju Show machine in my browser and copy and paste it and so on. If I go through and switch my model, let's see, I believe it works if I switch my model. Did it pick it up? Let's see. No, it didn't. I have to switch here. Default. We're working on some things where I can intercept some calls and try to help keep these things in sync. But so here you can see the full status coming out from this model. So you can make it bigger. Hey, I want more space. You can make it smaller. You can close it, and you can reopen it. Now, what it does is this connects to a LXD container running on this Juju Shell unit, and every user gets their own LXD container, and the LXD containers are a little bit limited, so that to help avoid people doing crazy stuff like setting up FTP servers and stuff on there. So to show how other users go here I added a user called Rick onto the same controller, and I have, so these are all the admin models you saw over there. I have my own model here, Rick's World, and if I hit this, notice I get my own workspace here for myself, and I can look at all the models that are available, and I can Juju status. If I want to look at what something else has, I can Juju status the model of admin been baked and get that out. So this is just kind of a, hey, the Juju Shell thing. We would like people to kind of try this out and test it and see how it works and how they're finding it useful or not useful. Primary use cases are users who don't have a Juju client, maybe like a Windows user or something where you want to set it up. Notice I don't have Juju Shell deployed here in my model and anything I own. I just told the GUI, hey, the shell's at this URL, and everything else just worked. So I didn't have to worry about, every user has to deploy their own and configure their own Juju Shell. I just need one person, the admin really, to configure it, deploy it and configure it, and then give the URL to everyone else. And voila, you can set up a controller with GUI and everything shared to a bunch of people, maybe a school project or a team that you're trying to prototype or show something to. You can give them all a GUI baked into their experiment or your demo with just a single configuration. What do you guys think?
That's awesome.
And so I want to request everyone go add a getstarted.md to your stuff. I will say it's supported in bundles, so you can add the file to bundles right now. I know we did it to the Kubernetes bundle, for instance, because like you have to first get your config file for your kube control and all that stuff. What we don't have yet, and is currently being worked on, is that in the inspector on the sidebar, we want to show a bundle. And then when you click on the bundle, give you the link to the get started page and the README page for the bundle. And then under that, put the charms that are part of that bundle, so that if I were to deploy Kubernetes from the GUI, I would get the get started for Kubernetes, the bundle up. And then if I wanted to go into an individual charm in that bundle, I could drill into it from the inspector and stuff. So I think that's in the newer GUI that's in testing right now, at least the links. The bundle stuff still needs some work. But right now, the charms, it works. It's very helpful to you users to kind of know what's the next step. You know, I deployed it. Now what? Because sometimes things need special configuration or commands run or whatnot before you can actually really use whatever it is that you've deployed. So charmers, make your life easier for your users. Go add getstarted.md to all those charms.
Rick, you said that was a Lexi container providing that?
Yep, that Juju Shell unit there runs the container. So part of why this is kind of an early, like we don't have this available on Jazz yet at scale, because we're working on making sure we can garden those containers so that as people leave or whatnot. So the containers right now is kept around. Each user gets their own container. They all get one. But if you had 500 users trying to access the container or whatever, or each with their own container, you could see running out of disk space or resource contention, needing to scale that unit more or whatever. So we're working on trying to figure out what are the limits, what are the recommendations, you know, where will it fall over and break and stuff. So go try it out and let us know where it broke for you or where it let you down. Like it almost worked well, but hit the snag here or there, you know. And if you do any demos, like, you know, I think this is a great tool for giving a demonstration at a conference or a talk or whatever, rather than switching back and forth between the terminal and the GUI and the terminal and the GUI to kind of see what I did and all that. You can just drop a shell in there, do your demo, you're all in the same window. You know, as far as that kind of stuff goes, we think it's really excellent. Cool. Alrighty then, we have run long today, but hey, we've been out a while, so we had to, like, you know, get it all out. Whew. So with that, everyone, I will see you all in 2 weeks. Go get your new Jujus and try it out, and have a good day. Bye.
Bye. Have a great day.